Hello everybody, PAX Day 3 here. I am with Norman from Opaque Media Group. They're showing off their game Earthlight, the Steam VR experience. Norman, tell us a little bit about Earthlight, the history of it, and where it all got begun.
So, Earthlight is a virtual reality game designed to make you feel like an astronaut, and it allows you to understand what it's like to be an astronaut. So it's not just a game set in space. We intend to capture the entire journey of people going from training through to deployment, through to life in space. And it started off in the very beginning as a tech demo. We were just interested in showing off what the technology can do in VR and what are the innovative way for us to control experiences inside of VR. But then we realized we actually created something quite interesting because we started receiving emails from people who wanted experience, and what we could only describe as fan mails from NASA simulation engineers who thought it looked fantastic. And then we started working with people from a number of different people from NASA to make sure that we get the experience right. And we're sort of at the point where we're ready to start making it more public facing. So this is the first time that we're showing this in a properly public setting.
Now tell us a little bit about some of the feedback you've got from NASA. What are the things you've learned? What are the things that weren't so obvious at the time, and how has that changed the development of the game?
Something I need to stress is that NASA is a public domain agency. They don't support the project, they don't endorse the project. What they do is they help us create a better experience. So what we've done is we sent them the demo, they provided feedback in terms of how they felt. They thought it was responsive, they liked the fact that we used a hand to climb around, they liked the fidelity of the visuals. They were commenting on a few things that they thought we got right that a lot of people don't, like some small details that we caught. They're really unsubstantial things, but like cables and the placement of cables, they commented on that. The things that they thought we didn't get quite right is basically a lot of the surface details, because if you go online and Google a picture of the International Space Station, there's just such an immense amount of just details on there. So they thought we didn't get enough of that in, but they also understand that it's probably not practical to expect these things. And probably the most relevant, the most valuable feedback came in the form of an email that contains an enormous list of just YouTube videos that they released in the past. So we're looking for interesting things to have people do on the International Space Station. So they provided us with a lot of really interesting videos they recorded on the ISS of all the goofy things that the astronauts do, the kind of experiments they perform, when things break down, what happens, and things like that.
Fantastic. Now I know one of the comments you got from the Escape is saying that, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially that this is the type of experience that should be given to people who are engaging with VR, with Oculus, that it takes you outside somewhere where you'd normally be able to go, out into space. And I also take you back as well to the experience of using your hands. I found that was one of the most endearing parts about playing with it. In a lot of VR experiences I've done, you're walking around, there's always a bit of, I guess, caution or trepidation you take in moving around your experience, even though you have a level of trust. In sitting down and using my hands, it felt like a very natural use of the technology. How has it been in terms of working with the hand controls, and what type of feedback have you been getting on that?
So people are generally very happy with how they were able to control their body and their motion through space. So on that front, I think we really nailed it, because one of the key things about VR is also just well, you were talking about trust before, and that's a really interesting word to use, because my background is actually a psychologist outside of this. So I'm a PhD researcher in cognitive psychology. And one thing that we know from a lot of the research around motion sickness, simulation sickness, is that we need to have people be able to predict how they're going to move through the world. So when you push a button that says move myself forward in VR, you're seeing yourself move, but you're not experiencing it because there's no motion in your head. But with sufficient practice, you can build up an accurate expectation. So when I push forward, I will move forward. But even then, that is a very disconnected experience from actually moving. Whereas we take that back and say, all right, you're using your hand because that's how people actually move around in space. And we're going to give people the full control over how they're manipulating their position in the world. So that is really the core of what underlies our interaction mechanic.
Fantastic. Look, we really appreciate the opportunity to have hands-on with it. I think I can speak for Tam as well, in that we both really had a great time, and we look forward to seeing the development of it in the future. Norman, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.